We're streaming.
We are live. And I'm adjusting myself here. There we go.
Yeah, it's been a week.
Yeah.
It's been putting the dog down yesterday. So I was gonna do the follow-up video on, can you tell the difference between the SM58, SM57, and SM7B? What do you think? Were you able to tell?
I didn't listen.
You didn't listen, eh?
It's been a stupid week for me too. I saw the thing come out. And I made a point in my head. I'm like, I have to do that, and I haven't done it yet. So when are you gonna?
Thursday.
Okay, I was gonna say when you get next. Okay, so I'll probably do it on the weekend.
See, I've been contacted by several people in the microphone industry saying they don't want to do it publicly, so they sent me their picks.
Oh fuck, I'll do it public. I don't care.
Well, the reason they were saying they didn't want to do it publicly was because they didn't like. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, and the reason
it's a guessing game more than anything.
Yeah,
I took a brief listen to it on headphones, and I was like,
well, it's tough, right?
I said this, and I said, "Fuck you, Aiden. Fuck you to hell."
Well, and the problem, and this is what I was talking to a friend about, is there's no benchmark. Like there's no benchmark for each microphone. So it's literally 3 random mics being cycled through. There's no, well, this is the SM7B sound, and then see if you can pick it out amongst the 3 of them. So it is damn near impossible to do.
I'm gonna do that to you because I have all 3 mics. So I'm gonna do the same thing. And I'm not even going to give you a video file. I'm just going to send you an audio file.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I did this with my 3. Like, I put 3 up. And when I was listening back, I closed my eyes. And I was able to pick out the SM7B. Because the SM7B...
It's the one oddball out of the other 2.
Kind of. But it also has a little more depth in the mids.
Oh, it's got a lot more resonance. A lot more resonance in the low end of it.
And I understand that. I understand why some people might be like, well, I mean, I'm not staking my reputation on being able to find these 3 mics. And that's fair. But it's funny. Some people have gotten it right. But then there's a lot of people who are just like, one guy messaged me. He's like, with earbuds, I can't tell. There's no definable difference.
Nope.
So what do you listen to podcasts on there, Dylan?
What do I listen to podcasts on?
Yeah, if you're going to listen to podcasts, what do you listen to them on? Average person.
Like listening environment, you mean? I think you mean like what types of podcasts.
But
depends what I'm doing. I mean, obviously, if I'm at work, I'm sitting in a production studio, so I'll listen to them on the speakers. But if I'm obviously out on a jog or something, or out for my morning run, I'll do it just on earbuds.
Right? And that was the whole point of the video is most people are not going to be listening to this on high-res speakers.
So I have an interesting thing. So we'll finish this, and then on that point, I have an interesting thing that I want to talk about.
All right, cool. So
on that note,
I'm going to do the reveal video coming up next Thursday. I was supposed to do it yesterday. That was the whole point of this. My dog got really sick. I ended up having to put my dog down. It's been a rough 24 hours. Let's just put it that way. Things are kind of starting to level out. That's why we're here. But I was going to have it done, but the answer is secret option D. They're all the same mic and out of frame Elam 251. Yeah. No, it was just a shotgun mic on everything.
I don't even have the video open. Was that Bangs?
No, that was Podcastage.
Hey,
Podcast.
Okay.
Welcome,
Bandrew.
Bandrew's in. He's one of the 2 people watching. So
now 3 because I just joined.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. Yeah, you know what? He was old. He was 13. Actually, I guess a little bit of background before. 13-year-old chocolate lab. He got really lumpy, so he grew a bunch of lumps all over him, which is normal for labs apparently. And he just was getting worse and worse. Had a hard time getting up, and he was on what they call NSAIDs, which is basically Advil for dogs, which is hard on the stomach lining. And all the dogs got like a norovirus type thing where they're throwing up. And he got it as well. And the problem is when your stomach lining's half gone, well, he didn't go well for the norovirus, and he suffered. So we had to. It was a very sad day. Happily, though, that's all out of the way. What a way to kick off your live stream, eh? Let's talk about my deceased dog. But other than that, also King B2 There's rumors, Dylan.
That's the worst segue in the world.
Right? Oh wait, you had something to point out.
No. Let's get back into audio. I don't want to like go from like dog dying to my thing because it's not in any way.
Oh God. Okay. So you don't want to segue.
No,
from dog
I'm letting
dying.
you. I'm letting you be the one to do the shitty segue. I don't want to do it.
All right. And speaking of putting your dog down, King B2.
King B2, because bees kill dogs.
There's some rumors. The reason it hasn't come out yet, and I've heard this from a few people, including an insider email I got, that they are not releasing it yet because they're worried about scalpers.
Interesting.
So think about this. Scalpers are entering the world of microphones.
Well, especially now when supply chains are so fucked up because of COVID.
Yeah, but microphones?
I mean, we've seen it, video cards. That's been happening with NVIDIA cards the last several months where they've had scalpers that are selling them for like 2 times what they're worth online.
But video cards, I kind of understand. Like, everyone wants a video card for the computer. How many people are like, King B2? I'll pay $1,000 for it.
What I'd be curious is, I don't know, is it happening now or is it just something that they think for some reason is suddenly going to start up with the King B2? Like, do they have any evidence, any cases that support that this is going to be a thing?
I would imagine. I didn't find out exactly why they think this is going to happen, but it's been the stalling. I think one of the problems they're having is with the issues with semiconductors and all that kind of stuff. They're probably running into shortages for whatever's on the circuit board inside the microphone. And that's leading them to think that they might not have Midnight Wolf. How's it going? That's probably leading them to think that there's might not be enough to go around, and if scalpers jump in, they're screwed. So I think it might be just kind of them looking at the numbers, going, "Ooh, might be rough."
Stupid top chat. I'm like, why am I not seeing and it's top chat, not live chat?
Yeah, I'm always on top chat too.
Yeah, it defaults to that, and I have to change it.
There we go. It all comes in for me. It all comes in for me.
Of course you are, because you're on the important side.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm on the spectator side. It's a little different.
You're not on the important side.
No, I'm on the dark side.
So, what do you think? Do you think this is something that microphones are going to be plagued by going into the future?
I mean, it's possible. I think you're right though with the fact that everyone wants a video card. Does everybody want a mic? I mean, well, there is certainly a demand for them. If there wasn't, there wouldn't be all these companies coming out with all these relatively inexpensive mics.
Oh my God. The amount of microphones that are coming up. Mic prices went a bit crazy last year. The more affordable stuff was sold out and people would gouge prices on some stuff. I'm seeing that now, like with the King B, the original King B, used, it's like $500. It's not a $500 mic.
No,
it's a great mic, and it knocks a lot of mics.
$500 puts it in the tier of this.
Right.
Although this is a broken one, I would say that I would not put the King B in the caliber of an RE20.
Yeah, but if you want a King B, if that's the microphone, and that's the thing that I find, that's the one thing that might drive people to go out and pay stupid money for this stuff, is the fact that if you want that look, instead of it's not about the sound, but it's about the look, if you want that King B in front of you, this is what you got to pay. I'm curious to see. I'm trying to snag one just to do a bloody review. So I'm going to see if I've got to pay like extra money for it. I'm going to be really irritated.
Hey, I know. Reach out and see if they'll send you one for free.
I actually talked to the guy. He was checking out my channel. He was going to get back to me. But then they're also kind of in the process of launching a microphone. So
a little busy.
Yeah, no, we'll see exactly how that goes. It's not like with the Evo 4 that I picked up the pack. You can actually see the Evo 4 behind me on my shoulder. It's not quite as of a hot ticket item, right? So
no,
I think they're going to be choosing who they send it to. Like they'll probably send it to all the big, podcasters will get one, probably EPOS. Of course, Booth Junkie gets one usually. So we'll see. Maybe I can be on the list too. It'll be my first ever release mic, on release day.
I feel like, and I know Bandrew can chime in, I feel like that's a big kind of milestone as like a YouTube tech sort of reviewer. It's your first release send. I feel like that's a big kind of mark to hit. That's a good.
I came close on the MV7. I got the MV7 a day after it was released because it came.
Which is I'm still relevant. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I had to spend my own money on it, and I didn't keep it. I actually gave it to my son because I didn't really have much use for it. The Ho Ho Show says, "Hi, I'm glad I'd be able to catch it." Hey, Ho Ho.
You just really wanted to say that.
What?
Hey, Ho Ho.
Couldn't get the headphones I wanted while at Sweetwater today because they can't get them. That is one thing scalpers love. My God, what kind of headphones were they?
Yeah,
like
really.
what kind of headphones are being scalped right now? Like I know,
Sorry, that's kind of funny.
I do know. Like I went to pick up the new Google Chrome. It's got Google TV on it. And they've been having a hard time keeping stock in for those. They actually put like Google TV, so it comes with a remote, so it turns any TV into a smart TV. It took me a while to get one of those, but I kind of see that's a Google product. It's not like a pair of headphones, right?
Yeah.
Ho Ho says, "What up? What up, Ho Ho?"
Not much. Just hanging out.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look at this.
Thing about like headphones, though. I mean, think about like comparing to microphones, right? Microphones are paintbrushes for the audio world. They are textured. Yeah. There's like you can never have enough microphones. As far as the different songs you can get. I've actually started to give microphones away. I shouldn't have told you that.
Who are you giving microphones to?
I haven't given any. I haven't given any away yet, but I'm starting to sort of separate them into need, don't need, don't need. You know,
I can pay for them. You don't need to
no, some of them I don't even care. Some of them are like fuck it. But like so there's that. But I like for headphones though. I mean, in my case, I've got 3 workhorse pairs of headphones. I've got mixing headphones. I've got my SRH 1540s.
Yeah.
Which I use just for mixing because they're the only open back pair that I have, and they work great. And then I have the SRH 940s, which I use that for tracking in the studio in the control room. And then I have the SRH 840s, which are they're on my head now.
Yeah.
They're in the booth normally for client tracking or for the stuff booth. I don't need any more headphones.
No.
So, and the average person, unless you're in a big studio, you don't need a shit ton of headphones. Like,
speaking of, I got a complaint about these ones. The ear pads on these are hot. Like they're soaked in sweat most days when I take them off. Not to paint a picture or anything.
Soaked, drenched.
But they're just
they're waterlogged.
They don't breathe whatsoever. Now, granted, they reduce noise like nothing else.
Oh yeah, and they're the reason that I use put the 840s in the booth is because I find the velour of the 940s, although it's comfortable, it doesn't do as good of a seal job. Yeah. As the faux leather does. Like these 840s really lock down any kind of leakage.
I don't really need that much lockdown of leakage.
Yeah, in your case, I can definitely, because you're doing a lot of VO. Whereas when you're like, if you've got someone singing to like a metal track and they have it cranked up to 11 in their headphones.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Ho Ho says, I have quite the collection of mics myself. I like trying them out. Isn't it fun?
Mic acquisition syndrome. It's mass. You got mass.
Gear acquisition syndrome.
I've got that.
As I was telling Dylan before the stream started, podcasters, I've gotten any review stuff if you've gotten any review stuff, that's amazing. I didn't get anything sent to me by a reputable company until the Rodecaster Pro. Wow.
Well,
Bandrew, I've taken more of an aggressive stand on a lot of stuff.
because you ask.
Actively. Well, and it's not that I ask, it's because my channel's success has come based on search. So I've had some stuff that I've got a great base of viewers, and that's been awesome. But all of the successful videos I've had are because they're ranking really well in search, and every day people are watching these videos. And that's usually what I just sell the company. I'm like, hey, videos rank in search. This is what like with the Evo 4, I messaged Audient and I said, hey, I've had multiple requests for the Evo 4 Start Recording Bundle. Could you send me it? Just so I'm not spending money and then returning it, which is what I have done in the past. Like, yeah, here you go. So I found a lot, like at first I was getting a lot of companies that were like, okay, well just send it back. And I don't care about that either. And then it was just recently where companies were like, here, take the mic. Yeah, no, keep it. It's yours. I'm like, you realize this doesn't mean anything about the review. Oh yeah, no, just keep the mic. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, unless other than in one very specific recent circumstance that we shall remain nameless of. Well, if you follow all these rules, some of which we
no
didn't
kidding.
really agree on.
I will have to say one thing. Rode is one recent where I've got a contact at Rode, and they're now sending me stuff. He's sending me a Rodecaster Pro. Apparently, there's some stuff coming out for the Rodecaster Pro that they wanted me to test, and okay, I've been very honest. Like, my review of the Rodecaster Pro was not glowing. I did not like the drivers on it, and it's one of my worst performing videos, like to dislike. And yet he saw the video, he loved it. He said, "That's great, man. Here, you want some stuff?"
So, I got a question for you. So this is, I think in the audio world, it works different than a lot of other consumer products. And feel free to plead the fifth because you're in a bit of a hot seat on this one. But if, as a consumer, what audio brands do you find that you actually, not for the products, but that you've actually had a consistently good experience with, that you actually have developed like a bit of a loyalty for that brand? I think it's hard in the audio world, but I'm always interested to see who, like I've got a handful of brands that.
Yeah, AKG is one. I have yet to have a product from AKG where I'm like, yeah.
You just want the 414.
But I haven't sat down with an AKG product, like even the P series, which is cheap. I haven't sat down with any of it and went, yeah, that's gross. I would have to say the other Rode is actually outside of when I kind of crap on the Rodecaster Pro, I think it's overpriced for what it is. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. Like, they really did a great job on design. Until they replaced the drivers, the third-party drivers were absolute shite. Once they replaced that, it's a great little piece of equipment. It doesn't have the greatest preamps in it, but I mean, it's also for podcasters.
Yeah. So, and even at that price point, which is still for most people still a high price point for.
That is a very high price point. Like, I wouldn't. Okay. Love Rode. I wouldn't buy a Rodecaster Pro myself. It's too much money to spend on such it's not versatile whatsoever. You can only podcast with it. Like, they've changed it so you can use the pads for other things, for like MIDI control and stuff like that. But then who's using a Rodecaster Pro for MIDI control?
Yeah, you said that. I'm like, why?
You get an Arturia Mini Lab for $100. Like, who's going out and going, oh man, I need to get some drums laid out here. Get me the Rodecaster.
I've got an M Audio Axiom, an old Axiom 49 here, and it's got built-in pads on it. Like,
right?
And it's, it's not an expensive piece of hardware.
No, you can get a pad. You can actually,
get a straight up pad by Rolly, or there's a lot of companies that make great pads.
When they first released it, that was the big selling point, was it had pads. You could play sounds off it. I'm like, you can get one of those for a laptop.
Yeah, and what kind of like real demand is there for, I mean, yes, there's a lot of people that would see a lot of value in that, especially if you're doing like live streams like this, where you might want to do that. I mean, look at in the radio world. Look at the radio world. I mean, we use hotkeys, which are essentially pads on the screen.
Absolutely. But I mean, this is something that Bandra was talking about during one of his. I think it was one of the podcasts. He said the idea that it's being saturated now with sound effects in the podcast world, which has almost become obnoxious.
Yeah.
Because like my boss will tell me, dude, lighten up on the sound effects. But if you're a podcast, nobody's there saying, oh man, lighten up on the sound effects. That's pretty.
I had a hilarious discussion with one of my coworkers and a manager in Toronto, and we were talking about how I started looking into diving into some sound design, some podcast sound design roles within our business recently. And he was like, what appeals to you about that? And I said, honestly, as a sort of a radio producer at the caliber that I'm at now, I love the soundscape and the storytelling, but I hate the time constraint.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the 30 to 60 second time constraint, especially with the new, like now our spots have to be exactly 30 seconds.
Yep.
There's no more like 31 point, no, 30, no less, no more. That's the business now. And it's really hard because sometimes I'm like, if I only had 250 more milliseconds. But with podcasting, you're sometimes doing long form soundscaping for like 3, 6 minutes, 30 minutes. So I love that. But he said, honestly, he's like, that's maybe 5-10% of the time with those guys. Like most of the time you're sitting there editing shitty audio.
Well, it depends, right? Like there are, and this is the thing, actually, really quick, we'll get to some of the comments. Ho says, that's how I found you in podcastage. Cheers. Richard Scarsian says, what's up? And then I'm on the wait list for the Mackie Onyx 1660 channel mixer with multi-track. I have the RPC, but I wanted more, plus plug in more mics. Yeah, that's one of the drawbacks. However, not a lot of people need more mics than what you've got on it. Ho also said, I don't use the pads on the Rodecaster, and I agree it's overpriced. And that's the one thing that the Rodecaster Pro has kind of annoyed me with is the sound effects the processing that it offers is actually not bad. Like it's got a very, very mild gate. It's got controls for compression, de-esser. It sounds pretty good. It's not bad. But is it worth $900? Well, that's Canadian, by the way. It's $950, I think, Canadian.
From the quality that I've heard, and again, I'm sort of in my head comparing it to some of these processors, and no.
No, and like I could see spending, I would say American, US dollars, maybe $300-400 on a Rodecaster Pro. But the price is also going up too, because they're running out of with the P8, it took so long for them to get it to me because they were running out of they didn't have any microprocessors for it. So it took them several months to get it in.
Silicon shortage.
The Onyx 16 though, the Mackie Onyx 16, that's a decent channel mixer, isn't it? 16 channel mixer.
Onyx pre's have been around for a while. I have a Mackie Onyx board over in my little storage cubby there. They're good pre's. I actually am, as far as like price ratio, I'd say the best value. Onyx pre's will get you really, really solid value. I like the sound of them. The boards that they build around them are generally pretty well made. Mackie, and I've had Mackie stuff for years. Mackie used to be known as like workhorses. Like their boards were built like brick shit house. You could kick them down the stairs and they'd be fine. Like, and then there was a bit of a lull in the mid 2000s where there was just shite, and now they're kind of getting back into like their really, really well built stuff. So, I would recommend, especially for the price. Like, you can't really beat Mackie price for especially robustness and just
do they have reliability. Actual multi-track drivers for them?
Don't think so. No, these are all pretty much. These are all straight up 2-channel in, 2-channel out things.
Yeah, Podcast Banjo says, I think it comes down to the fact that RCP was first to market for an all-in-one focused on podcasters. Because of that, they set the price for the market.
Yeah, they're trying to nail down a segment.
You know what? I don't necessarily disagree with it. It's a gorgeous piece of equipment. The design, it's not cheap. Everything about it is really nice. Even the UI, everything about it is really great. It's just if you were to put that up against like the AudioFuse Studio is about the same price.
But as Bandrew says, I think accurately is that they're really playing off of the fact that it's for podcasters. It's a podcasting thing for podcasters. Yeah, and so all it would take is one company to look at that and go, we're going to steal some of that, and to come out with a product that does a lot of the same digital processing that thing does. For a fraction of the price.
Zoom has tried twice. And while I like the
Zoom has never been great with interfaces. In my personal opinion.
Okay, field recorders, they're fantastic.
Well,
small
still,
handheld recorders.
The F8 still uses the same interface, essentially the same screen layout and everything as the H6 or the H5. The H6 is a totally different beast. The H8 too. I think Zoom has realized that, and in the last few products, they've really started to improve their interfaces.
The P8 the UI was fantastic. It was it had some quirks to it. Like their menu system needed work, but that's okay.
Menus are hard. I'll give them a pass for that. Menus are a hard thing to do.
But it was a great interface, almost on par with Rode. The problem was they basically released a subpar powered mixer. Like it just didn't have the specs, and that's the same thing with the Rodecaster Pro. They basically removed stuff from it, made it dumb shit simple, put some buttons on it that
put a button on there.
They glow different colors on that there. And they released
That's all about the RGB now, man.
They racked up the price on it. Now, granted, I mean, you can get a really nice interface that you have to do your own mix minus for. The other big selling feature was a mix minus on the phones.
Yeah, that is pretty neat.
It is
not hard to set up, but just nobody's thinking about it.
Well, it's not. It's hard to wrap your mind around if you don't know audio. The concept of a mix minus is not easy to understand if you haven't done audio.
Not even just audio, but specifically like in the kind of situation where you're dealing with that type of, like, most music producers don't know what the hell a mix minus is.
Really?
I only know about it because I've worked in radio and podcasting. There's no usage for mix minus in the music business. But if you've worked in podcasting or especially radio, like I've got a phone hybrid here that does its own built-in mix minus.
Yeah.
And it's the Gentner job. But,
well, and that's the other thing. You can go and you can get phone hybrids that hook up to your interfacing computer. Like, and that's the other thing. Like, and I think you can get them for as cheap as $40. The problem is you need an actual landline, which that is a bit of an issue. I don't know of any IP mix minus or hybrids.
IP phone, yeah. I don't know. I know that obviously there are mix minuses, or there are hybrid type boxes that you plug your phone, your iPhone or your Android in, and they have XLR outs and ins, trim controls and everything, and mix minus output. Yeah, which is kind of.
I would almost be willing to get one of those with a normal interface / mixer. It's also the idea of it being a mixer. When everything was pre-fade, like, why do you need the mixer when everything's PFL? Why? Just get an interface. Make it an interface.
I never realized the stupidity of that until you just outlined it.
P8, also the same thing. Like there's, anyways. I still like the Rodecaster Pro for what it is. I think it's just, yes, they've set the market. I think they just set the market too high, because anything that improves upon the Rodecaster Pro has got to be more expensive than it. And that is egregious for a podcaster who isn't making money on their podcast to go out and pay. Think about that. Somebody who's not making a penny on their podcast are being told, no, dude, Rodecaster Pro is the only way to go.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Ho-Ho show here. Voice over IP is a pain in the ass because everybody uses a different modem. Everybody's using different like modulation, demodulation tech for it. It's stupid. So it's hard to make. Landlines are simple. They're all RJ11 cables. Yeah. You plug an RJ11 in. Every landline uses that cable. There's no exceptions. Whereas with voice over IP, some of them have, like, I know. We used to be on Primus, and Primus was a modem and then RJ11 at the back. So you could still plug that into a phone hybrid. But then you can get phones that are like the Cisco phones that are VoIP enabled. An Ethernet cable plugs into the back. Yeah. And it's like, well, how do I plug that into a phone hybrid?
Well, the other thing is instead of using the phone, there are actually better solutions online. CleanFeed is the one we use.
CleanFeed's amazing. Actually, I've had so many arguments over the last several months because we've started using it at work, just a free tool just to get by for remote client recording. And we'd record it and it would be on a phone because the other person's on a phone and we're in the studio recording it. And the rep would always be like, oh, that sounds like shit. It sounds like, it's just such phone quality. He's like, yeah, because they're on a phone. If they had solid hardware, it would be fine. And sure enough, this week I had a session with a guy who had some kind of a Rode interface for his phone, and he was recording CleanFeed, and he's like, "Oh shit, this sounds really good." I'm like, "I fucking told you."
I had when I was doing podcast engineering, so I was basically producing podcasts. I was doing one for Two Girls, One Cup. I did about 5 of their episodes. Apparently,
I remember you telling me about that.
I was too expensive for them because I charged $90.
Oh my God.
They had each episode, and they were blowing up at the time. Two Girls, One Mic. Yeah. Go check it out. The 2 women that they basically interview porn stars. And it was a really cool concept. And they would send me the show. It would be like an hour and 45 minutes long. And they wanted me to take every out. They wanted me to take out, like, where they would have false stops and rambles. So I was listening to this thing basically real time, and I'm like, $90 per, because it's going to take me 2.5 hours to do.
You got bent over a barrel on that one. Oof.
Well, no, that's actually standard price, and that's fine. Whatever.
It depends. I mean, we've got some freelancers that work for the company that I work for, this podcast, and they get paid way more than that per episode.
If you can get on with the company, yes, that's fantastic. However, at the time, what they were doing, because they were getting such shitty audio, and they're like, "What should we do?" I'm like, "Go buy a cheap $60 USB microphone and send it to them before they record, and then most of the time you're going to get it back, and the odd time you don't get it back, go buy another $60 microphone."
Yeah.
And their audio went through the roof. Like the quality of audio was just so much better.
And even like, we're sitting here, judging mics, and like, honestly, like even, Behringer 1800S versus mic that's built into the bottom of your phone, there's going to be a massive improvement. And I hate the 1800S. So that's saying a lot.
But that's the kind of stuff that you can do there, and you can avoid crappy audio. And I have another Matt Kundle's doing the same thing, where they'll send out. Did I ever show you that little lapel mic I had? It was the $30 lapel mic.
I got one of those.
Plugs into the front of your computer, and you can use it as.
I got one of those, and honestly, I just bought it so that when I'm shooting quick social media videos on my phone, I could get decent dialogue audio from it, and it just sounds great. Yeah, it sounds great. I have no issues with it.
And you send that; it only costs $30. You send that, you get they send it back to you. It doesn't cost much to mail, and it was amazing how much just using Clean Feed and that. Everything went through the roof. So, yeah, there's a lot of other options than going out and buying a Rodecaster Pro.
Yeah.
Have we shit on the Rodecaster enough? Was that how long is this shit on Rodecaster?
We're not shitting on the product. It's a good product. It's just as far as price competitiveness, it's not a competitive price point.
Well, no, and nothing else. Like even with the P8, they brought it in a couple hundred lower, and then just kind of crap the bed on all of the features. Mm-hmm. It's like if you guys had actually met it feature for feature and then put it out for $200 less, would have been perfect.
So here's a question. Here's a question for you in Bander, if he's still here. Would you say that the Rodecaster Pro would be considered, at least for independent podcasting, an industry standard?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, now you run into that argument where, honestly, look at Pro Tools. Pro Tools is an industry standard. We can have all the arguments we want. It is the industry standard across several industries. And they charge a stupid amount for it, because once you get that status of having something that becomes some kind of an industry standard at something, you can charge whatever the hell you want for it. I look at this, I've talked about it before, this new Wheatstone mic processor that I got. Wheatstone is the standard in radio technology, radio broadcast technology. Is this 2-channel mic preamp? It's a great preamp. I love how versatile it is. Is it worth $2,500? No way.
No.
No way. It's certainly worth more than I would say quality wise.
I've got one of their sideboards that's like $7,000. The Wheatstone sideboards. And all it is a bunch of sliders.
Yeah, it's a control surface.
Yeah,
it's a control surface. It doesn't do anything other than that.
Industry standard, I don't think so. I would say the Scarlett series of interfaces are more industry standard than RCP for podcasters. I kind of agree, but I kind of don't. If it was based solely on adoption.
I almost think the Scarlett is almost like an entry-level industry standard. Because it's such whenever someone's looking for a solid interface for anything, podcasting, for VO, for even just music production, it's hard to beat the value proposition of the Scarlett.
Oh,
at least the 2i2,
not even close. Well, their whole lineup's great.
Yeah.
By the way, they're coming out with a new lineup for the Claret series.
Ooh, I have a Claret thingy somewhere. It's one of the 8 pre-modules.
They've got the next generation. We'll come back to that in a second. And I think that's become more of the industry standard. Yeah, most podcasters are entry level. And this is this is the thing that pisses me off about industry standard. If the Rodecaster Pro, let's say Podcastage is right, and it's not the industry standard, but it's coming. It's getting there because
it's revving up.
And you ask a group of podcasters, what should I pick up? The first thing they say is Rodecaster Pro. So once it becomes industry standard, the Rodecaster Pro was meant for people that have zero knowledge of sound.
Mm-hmm. And it's I mean, the interface I think is designed elegantly in that respect that it I don't want to say dumbs it down because it sounds pejorative, but it brings it down to a level that you can just set up and get going without having to take a course.
Kombucha, by the way, love the name. That's an awesome name. First
Kombucha.
timer here. YouTube recommended this stream to me. Welcome. Feel free to hit subscribe. Become a member.
YouTube.
Whatever you have to do. I'm not a podcaster, but do some streaming, and the Rodecaster Pro is becoming more recommended for that. Another thing about that, because it has the pads. Damn it. Like, it's just becoming such... Well, now, don't get me wrong. You look at the Go XLR. When the Go XLR was brought out... what was that, like 4 years ago? That was the one. Like, that was the streamer one, man. The Rodecaster Pro outclasses that like every day and every night. The Go XLR is child's play compared to the Rodecaster Pro. And I can kind of see it if you're a streamer and you don't want to dick around with like all the gear, you just want to set up a mic, have some faders to play with, have some buttons to hit. Well, here you go. Here's a really expensive machine with buttons and faders.
I think like anything else, I mean, when you start with a product like that nails down a pretty specific market segment, it will last at a really high price point until another company finds a way to make the same thing for cheaper, and sell it for cheaper.
I hope so.
I think that's one of the positive things that can happen with capitalism. Is the market will just their fights will happen, and as consumers, sometimes we win.
Andrew says Go XLR does have more powerful pre's, and I've heard that 55 dB of gain, or is it 58? And it has a built-in limiter, which is pretty
What's
cool.
the Rodecaster's gain?
That's 50. It's 55, I think. Yeah, Rodecaster Pro's 55. Well, but you have compression.
It's average. Yeah, average.
You also have compression. You also have like a de-esser. You have those.
Yeah,
things
you've got a
there.
full suite of processing in there.
And with compression, 55 dB of gain is actually okay. I mean, it drove an SM7B no problem, like no issue whatsoever, because it had the compression. So it just works that way. The invisible hand always wins. That's Bangs. I'm not exactly sure.
I know it's. I saw that.
Now there is one. The Ho Ho Show says, I'm waiting for a solid competitor, and I've been hit with this by several people. The Maono Caster. Maono is the super cheap microphones on Amazon.
Yeah,
they've come out with a Rodecaster competitor, and I was approached by Maono to try to review it, and they actually sent me an email saying, hey, would you like to review this? I'm like, sure. And they're like, cool, just buy it on Amazon and review it. I'm like, it's $400 in Canada. No, it's $400, Dylan, for a Maono caster.
I love how they're calling it a Maono caster. That's just blatantly obvious.
Rode and Zoom have been working for years to like refine their product. Maono released a couple mics on Amazon. Maono Pro, yeah. Podcasters Bangs bringing out the Austrian School of Economics. Good man.
The invisible hand always wins. The invisible hand.
Wait, that's no ASE. I thought it was Hayek. But that was way before that. Haha, my bad, Banks. These two are talking about something that I have no idea. Do you know what they're referencing with Austrian School of Economics?
Yeah, it's the invisible hand theory, which is I studied it once. I forgot about it.
I don't know what the invisible hand theory is.
It has to do with the free economy. Banks can explain it. I forgot.
Should we just give Bangs a microphone and...
Banks, you take over. I'm going to get a beer.
Yeah. Kombucha. Ooh, I almost bought a Maono Caster Lite. Glad I didn't. The noise reduction sounds pretty bad. And that's the thing. Like, I can't speak to whether or not the Maono Caster is good, but based on their track record of products off Amazon, it's an educated guess. Brian C, and they keep asking me this. Has anyone been able to test a Tascam Mixcast 4 yet?
Nope.
Can you look up how much that is? Tascam Mixcast 4?
It's Tascam, so it's probably not stupid.
Oh, I mean, these things, these casting things that people are charging tons of money for. Did you see Rode Connect software added the wireless Go 2 as a supported mic? Ooh, really? I borrowed the Rode Wireless Go 2 a while back from a buddy of mine, and he just never asked for them back. So I guess I kind of have some Rode Wireless Go 2. Tony DeMuzio.
It's almost $900
for Canadian. The Tascam?
Yeah.
Holy
I mean,
crap.
I'm not going to lie. It looks relatively feature-rich and compact.
Brian, if I can get a hold of that, hey, Brian, if you really want to get your recommendations on reviews, join the membership.
Plug.
Well, no, I mean, I've said that right in the membership. If you want to have your voice on what gets, you become a member. It's hard to take because everyone's like, do this. So the US or the Evo 4, that was a member that requested that. So I reached out to Audient and I asked them about that. So same price as a Rodecaster Pro. Should I just pick up the Tascam?
I mean, for $879 Canadian.
God damn.
Yeah.
I wonder who to reach out to at Tascam. Maybe I'll see if I can get a contact with Tascam and see if they'll lend me one.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if TIAC is still a thing. Remember when TIAC used to make stuff?
Wasn't that Tascam?
Tascam is the professional division of TIAC.
Yeah. TIAC was the Radio Shack division.
It's kind of like, yeah. You remember a company called Creative?
Yes.
That used to make audio cards?
Yeah, Sound Blaster.
Yeah. So they were the consumer, or Emu was the professional brand of Creative back in the day, and actually had a couple Emu products that were actually decent for,
well, even the Creative Sound Blasters were fantastic.
I grew up with that shit, man. Like I had like 3. I still have a Creative Sound Blaster XFI card. That it was one of the cards that had like the external box that went with the card.
Yeah.
And I still have one of those. I should give you one of those to play around with.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Although it's not PCIe, it's PCI. So you wouldn't be able to use it.
I can probably get a USB 3 converter to it. Yeah, where you just
PCI.
That'd be fantastic.
You do a video and just show the monstrosity. this PCI card sitting on your desk with this box. Like.
Where did it go? I picked up one that was for reading IDE.
Oh god, yeah,
hard drives.
Oh god, I had to get one of those because I have some archive stuff that's on those drives.
I just got a USB thing. It's a USB, and I just put the drive on top of my computer.
And they're
great.
So cheap. They're so cheap now. I remember I used to have to get one for a reasonable price. I would buy like an IDE USB 2 hard drive caddy and just take it apart and just take out the chip and use that with the ribbon cable hanging off the end of it. Like it just looks stupid.
Yeah. Bang says, is the Rode Connect Beta 1.2 version no effects on the Go 2 yet? It is functional. You know what's great about that? Now, I tried the Rode mic along with the Rode Wireless Go 2. I did not like the Rode mic. The Rode mic I found was pretty thin. It didn't have a great pickup. That might have just been because it came from my buddy. Like I said, I want to get a decent mic for that and then hook it up and see what it sounds like. Because the Go Wireless 2 are fantastic. Like the ability to multi-track with those mics that's cool. And then they're just talking to each other about quoting Ken.
I'm lost.
I don't know. There's an inside joke happening.
They're just trying to like one up us at this point. Like they're just like, we're just having this whole side thing.
So Kim Bucha says, "Oops, I mean noise gate." Yeah, like I said with the Maonocaster Lite, it's. I'm not going to be, unless somebody sends it to me to review and so I can send it back to them, I'm not going to be reviewing it anytime soon. I'm not spending my own money on a Maono product.
Noise gates are tough. I mean, there are some really good ones. I think by far the the best noise gate that exists for non-live use is RX, Isotope RX.
Yeah.
Its spectral noise gate is phenomenal.
Is that in the advanced or is that in the standard?
It should be in all of them. Well, except essentials. I think it's probably in standard and advanced.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I know you use the voice denoise. I'm not a huge fan, but the spectral denoise essentially is a super high resolution multi-band gate. That's basically what the spectral denoise is, and it works. I use it all the time.
Yeah, and I don't see the problem I have is I don't have a lot of noise around me that I have to stomp out. So I just get rid of some of the room noise with the voice denoise, and I'm usually good. Like there's not much else to it. Every once in a while my AC will be running in the back, but I mean I have to live. I'm sorry, I can't do videos with my AC off.
Makes one of us.
RX has no gate. It has an EQ.
RX has a gate. Spectral denoise is a gate.
Yeah. I've used spectral denoise. Bang says I own a USB sound blaster. It's nice.
A USB sound blaster. I don't think I've ever even. I didn't even know I thought they were all PCI cards. I guess they have to.
The new ones they've got. I don't know if I think Sound Blaster came out with them a little while ago. It wasn't Creative. Somebody bought the Sound Blaster name. I think probably Turtle Beach. They own everything. And it was just this little box on your desk, and it was like a headphone control, and you can hook a mic into it. But it wasn't like it was more for headphone control. Hey, anyways, so should I buy the Tascam?
If you can reach out again, I don't know. You've never dealt with Tascam before, so I don't know what they're like for reviewing stuff. But it might reach out.
I find a lot of these companies don't have easy ways to contact their marketing teams. That's the hardest part is you got to get.
You've got to go through the gauntlet just to get a name.
Yeah, but Brian, I think this is the third or fourth time that he's requested the Tascam Mixcast 4. But I also haven't seen it anywhere. Like no one's really come out and said this is $879 podcast streamer. That does look nice, eh?
Yeah, they got the
pre-order.
So it's not out yet.
Yeah, it's not even out, Brian.
I saw price. I guess it's a pre-order.
Yeah,
price.
It's pre-order. $879 pre-order.
Yeah.
Okay, so that answers the question, Brian C. It's not out yet, so I will try to get it as soon as I can. Brian C says, for post, I use a Reaper gate. The pre-open setting is great to make it sound smooth.
So again, I think so. What Bangs says is accurate. It's grasping at straws a little bit, but I mean, a gate. Saying an expander and a gate are two different things is kind of like saying a limiter and a compressor are two different things. They're not really. One is just a very like the ratio on a gate is a stupidly high version of what you would have on an expander, and it typically reacts aggressively. Like what they call it on the Wheatstone box here, they call it an expander, but I could just crank everything up and turn it into a gate.
Yeah.
But I do think it is true that gates, it's just they're too aggressive. I think you want to expand the dynamic range and just bring the noise down. You don't want to cut it off completely.
If you have so much bloody noise in your room that you need to cut the noise out, you need to.
And it'll sound like shit. Like earlier, I turned on the expander when I had my AC on, and you could hear how it was reacting because the AC noise was right over the threshold.
Yeah.
So the expander was going like. With the air conditioner noise, it was like
And the problem is the sonic drop off is just brutal.
Yeah, which is why again expanders are nice because I mean it's kind of like when you had sent me back when you were doing some audiobook stuff. You had sent me that clip from the book that shall remain nameless.
Yes.
And you sent me the specifications for it. I didn't gate that. What I did is I put an expander where the floor of the expander was the spec'd out floor that they requested. Basically.
Yeah.
Rather than infinite, which is what a gate would do.
Okay, I've got a question for you. We'll get through a couple of these, and then I've got a question for you because somebody actually hit me with something that I was a little incensed with. But God of Metal says no any good recording software. God of Metal. I would say PreSonus. What's the PreSonus one? Studio One.
Studio One.
If you want to stay relatively cheap.
I was going to say, your name is God of Metal. I'm going to say Reaper.
Yeah, Reaper. Yeah, Reaper's good.
Reaper, and that's not even. It is cheap. I will say if I'm a Pro Tools guy, I'm on Pro Tools. Occasionally, I use Audition for destructive editing, but I'm Pro Tools all the way. If I wasn't using Pro Tools, if Avid ever lets me down significantly again, I will be on Reaper.
Come over to Mac.
100%.
Come over to Mac.
I will 100%. No. I refuse. Macs don't work for mission critical situations unless I spend like 20 grand on a Mac Pro spec to the teeth.
Bandrew says maybe Brian works for Tascam. I'm thinking, because Brian keeps asking for it.
Brian, hook us up, bro.
Brian says, I've never been in this stream before. I was just curious about it because I saw it on a Tascam video. Brian, so it must not be you then. I've had several requests for it. I'm going to reach out to Tascam, see if they're going to send me one. Almost 1,000 Canadian rubles is a lot of money to pay for just
rubles.
If I can get it on Amazon and return it, which I will, I've done that on a few occasions. I will, but give me a bit of time. I'll see what I can do. Ho says I'm a fan of Reaper. So does Brian. Now the question I have is somebody got a hold of one of my comparison videos. And they got mad. Well, not mad. They seemed okay with it, but
they were a little critical of something.
Yeah. So what they said was, well, this sucks because you should be normalizing all the audio to the same level. So all the microphones should be exactly the same LUFS, exactly across the board. And to me, that's a bit disingenuous when doing a mic comparison. Because I do level them out relatively in post. So I'll bring up the levels on one or the other to make sure that the levels are relatively close. But I don't match them because that might be screwing with some of the frequencies when you're normalizing. I just kind of make sure that they're close. So like with the SM7B, SM58, and SM57 video, I just made sure that they all sonically sounded close on a volume level. And was done with it. I didn't do anything else to it. What do you think?
Nope. I think they're right. And really? The reason I say that is because, and this is a concept in the mastering business for a while. I used to work at a mastering house. So a lot of interesting things come up in the mastering chain that you don't get in any other stage of production. And one of the things that comes up is obviously the loudness wars. Why is loud good? Because loud is perceived as better. So even a little bit of loudness, even half a dB of added loudness, subconsciously, we're going to be like, oh, that mic is probably better. So now, let's differentiate peak normalization, which is a lie. Peak normalization is stupid and is pointless. But yes, so if they're talking about LUFS or LKFS normalization, if you have a tool that can do that. Now, you're using Adobe. Adobe will tell you what your integrated
it will also
LKFS
normalize it
number is.
It will also normalize it to it.
Yes. I use Isotope Insight is my tool of choice for checking, for metering that, and then for actual normalizing it, I will manually adjust it until I get the integrated level that I want.
I have some mastering tools. What do I have?
Oh God, the Adobe mastering.
No, I've got Ozone 8.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Ozone 8. Ozone 8 is a good start, I would say. Obviously being a tool designed for
what I'm going to do then for the next comparison video, I'm going to work with you and see the best way to do this, because yes, you're right, with the loudness could sway somebody to believe something is better than another.
Yeah, and even sometimes they might not even realize that, like, I will hear something, and because I've worked with that stuff for so long, I can consciously say, okay, that's louder, I'm going to take that, I'm going to try to compensate for that in my head.
The 1800S is louder than the SM58, and I can actually...
Well, okay, so yeah, if there's a substantially derogatory difference between the mics, it's not going to matter how loud it is. Actually, sometimes loudness can work the other way.
But that's also the problem with this is I'm not just talking about the SM7B, SM57, and SM58, because those didn't really need to be matched. They were all almost exact.
Bander, you sneaky bastard, changing accounts. Changing accounts.
No, he's got extra viewers on the stream. Get all of your accounts on here, Bandrew. Let's drive those numbers up,
no,
buddy.
I'm that guy. Like, if I like a page on Facebook and I'll click like and it'll be like, oh, you liked it as this. Do you want to also like it as all the pages that you're in of? I'm like, yes. Like, I like 16 likes at once. I'm like, hey,
argue
enjoy.
with myself on your stream.
Podcast amazing.
Yeah, Podcastage and Bandrew Scott having a hell of an argument.
But no, so getting back to it, I do think if you can, it's not a huge deal if you don't normalize them, but I certainly think it would make it more scientific if you did do integrated normalization.
Okay. So
LKFS normalization.
I'll look into that. And like I said, the problems I have are when I'm doing an 1800S versus an SM58. I feel as though that's disingenuous because some of what you get at the output of the mic, other than a little bit of boost and post to make sure that the peaks line up and everything, because that's kind of what most people who are buying these mics are going to be doing. I don't agree with RMS normalization of the podcasts that make it sound like it's an audio sausage. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's got to be."
No, well, okay. So here's the thing. There's a difference, right, between limiting and normalizing.
Yes.
Normalizing really should just be not adjusting the dynamic range of a level at all. Normalizing should be just adjusting that level so that the perceived loudness is a certain amount. And all that does is bring it so that the averages, not RMS, but the LKFS averages are within what you want them to be within, integrated. Yes. So across the entire played range that you're dealing with. So in your case, you would highlight all of the region of a particular mic, go check the Adobe's integrated measurement for it, then do the same for the other chunk and just adjust those until they're about the same. Even if the peaks aren't the same, we don't really, as humans, gauge the loudness of peaks as much as we do the average flow of an audio signal. So, leave it.
Yeah, normalizing also shows a noise floor comparison. I haven't really been doing noise floor comparisons outside of interfaces.
It's a good thing to test. I mean, it really only matters, I think, when you get into really dodgier mics. Yes. I think
on dodgy mics, I do, yes.
Yeah, I think on, like, when you start getting into the Neumanns, yes, there's a difference between the TLM series and the U87 as far as the U87 has a higher noise floor. Has it ever been a problem for me? No.
But that's also the thing. Like, there's a mic that the one that came with it's actually on the mic arm right now. It's the mic for the Evo series, the SR1, I think, and it's not bad. It's got a self noise of 16 dB. That's not brutal. Like, there are worse. And the sound of the mic's not bad. So I'm not going to go out of my way. If they have their self noise listed, I'm not going to go out of my way and like, this is what it sounds like too. I'm just going to tell you what the self noise is.
I've got it's on the topic of normalizing. I think you and I have talked about this off stream, but I just have to throw some shade over here a little bit at a big company that I probably shouldn't be throwing shade at. I had to throw some shade at a little San Francisco company called Wide Orbit. A little bit here. Company.
No, they don't have a hit. They don't have a hit squad. Don't worry. You can throw shade on them.
Yeah, they don't have the budget. But yeah, no. Just so for those that don't know, Wide Orbit are kind of they are the radio industry standard for automation software and the TV industry standard for automation software. They run most of the stations around the world run on Wide Orbit AFR, and most of the radio stations run Wide Orbit traffic for scheduling. So. It's not a company you want to tassel with that much, but so I will say this: Wide Orbit is fine. There's some things that are iffy about it. I use it every day, so I'm very familiar with it. They have a normalizing feature in Wide Orbit, and so there's a couple options. There is average peak, which sounds like an oxymoron to me. Average peak, what? So they have RMS. And then they have an option that has sort of become the standard within Wide Orbit to use called enhanced RMS. So I have the manual, and I read it a few years ago to figure out what the fuck enhanced RMS means. Because there's no industry standard definition of what that's not an industry term.
It's proprietary, Dylan.
Yeah, it's a Wide Orbit term. So let me explain to our lovely audience members what the hell enhanced RMS is with Wide Orbit. So here's what they do. They take the audio file that you put into the software that you're going to dub in, and they break it up into 50 millisecond chunks. They take each of those 50 millisecond chunks and the software measures the RMS average of that 50 millisecond chunk. They put all of those, the numbers for all those charts essentially on an imaginary graph. They take the top 15% or 10% of those numbers, the highest 10% of those numbers, and they use that as the thing and they average those 10%, and then they normalize that. What the fuck? Like, I'm sorry,
It's
LKFS.
science, Dylan. It's science.
LKFS has, and what we notice, and we have this issue all the time, is everything that we put in gets normalized to -17 enhanced RMS. That is our sort of business standard, and a lot of companies use that standard within wide orbit. The perceived loudness does not match. We've got imaging and music. Yeah, the 3 question marks. I agree, ho-ho. Like, I fully agree. But the perceived loudness does not change. It's like wide orbit. LKFS, normalizing that in Europe is the broadcast standard. And in North America, in the US, is the standard that the TV industry follows. Why the hell aren't you following it yet? It's not that hard to create an algorithm that is able to measure integrated LKFS loudness and allows you to adjust that. It's not hard.
Dylan starts talking and people start leaving.
Yeah, because I'm a nerd and I start getting into these really stupid.
Ho says, I still have a dumbfounded look on my face. It's okay. It's okay. It's just Dylan.
Trust me, I had to reread that explanation in the manual 20 times before I finally understood. Oh, wait, I get it. It's dumb. That's what I understand.
It's a company trying to do stuff that they shouldn't be doing.
They're trying to create a better mousetrap, but we don't need a better mousetrap. Like,
okay, so Bang says normalizing also shows noise floor comparison. Levelator has no concept of subtlety. Levelator is garbage.
Yeah.
I once listened to a podcast that tried to have the Star Trek TOS theme in it, and they ran it through a levelator. It was fascinating to see the levelator. with the whatchamacallit? What's that they use on that? What's that instrument called where you use your hands?
Theremin.
Thank you. Well, I don't think it was a theremin that was actually.
You love how fast I pulled that. It's like I have one beside me. It's like, oh, it's a theremin.
My father-in-law actually built his own, and he's got a couple theremins at his house.
Honestly, as far as electronic instruments, I have built a really crude one before with no kind of structural subtlety, but they're not hard to build because it's just capacitance.
But if you are not careful, you can electrocute the fuck out of yourself. 100%.
Yeah, no, you have to kind of know what you're doing. Basic electronic stuff. But building a theremin is easier than building a synthesizer.
Before anyone's here, like, oh, we should do that. Wait, okay, you might die. Hint of Shrimp saying I'm driving on the freeway. Woo! What up, Hint of Shrimp? God of Metal. Suddenly, red laser shines through the window. Nice. Bangs, imagine your audio is a Twinkie. Now imagine normalizing it with a hammer. Yeah. Well, Levelator was made for podcast. Well, I don't know if it was made for podcasts. It was made for people that had no idea about how to use compression and
Well, and gain staging. I mean, so today I sent out some VO lines out to someone in Alberta for a piece of a spot. And obviously my stuff generally comes pre-processed, relatively moderately, but you should be able to drop my VO in a session and it's ready to go. You really shouldn't have to do a ton to it. So he took his regular VO chain that he uses for his unprocessed SM7, put it on my processed feed from this processor.
After it's already compressed?
Yes. So I have a multi-band comp on this and a limiter. A very light, barely used limiter. And he went and he put another compressor, a multiband, and another limiter on top of what I had already done.
And then it goes over the radio, which they're gone through another compressor.
It goes through the station's OR bands, which are already cranked. Yeah.
And you know what? So the one thing you can learn out of all this, people who are listening, you only compress once when it's voice. When it's voice, you don't add a lot of compression to it.
Yeah, sometimes with voice, I will have 2 stages of compression. It's not uncommon.
Okay, so if you don't know what you're doing with compression, only compress once.
Okay, all right. I'll give you that one.
You have no idea what you're doing. Do not compress more than once. Please.
Or again, like anything else, start slow. It's like they say with EQs. Like a lot of people will buy an EQ, like something like the Isotope Neutron 3, which has a lot of bands, and they'll get this crazy like EQ curve going. I'm like, no. Start with 3. Start with 3 bands. Get a good sound with 3 bands. Just limit yourself to that. And then once you get comfortable with B, then maybe throw in another. Play with 4. Like again, start slow. They say the same with miking a drum kit. Don't do your first drum kit miking with 24 mics, 2 mic every drum. No, put 1 mic on a drum kit. Get that to sound good, which is possible, by the way. And then 2, and then 4, and then 24.
Kimbucha says, I don't think I've ever heard of a theremin. Kimbucha, you need to go look at what a theremin is and listen to it. There's a lot of really bad ones, but I think
there's one musician that I actually follow on YouTube. She's a gal from somewhere in Europe. She's amazing. She's developed a system of hand gestures that she can use in front of a theremin to get accurate pitches, so she can actually play songs really precisely.
Wow.
Like she did a Beatles song on a theremin. She did the Ennio Morricone spaghetti western
nice
theme,
oh yeah
on a theremin. It was
Ecstasy of Gold.
It's one of those things. It's like violin. It can be played really badly. It can also be played really well.
I would have to say most people would remember what a theremin is from Big Bang Theory.
Or that.
Or
Big Bang Theory.
Sheldon used it at one time. Sorry, I made a Big Bang reference there. But yeah, that's where a lot of people were discovering what the theremin was, by the way. She was dropped from the theme after the first singer, so Roddenberry could save on residuals and royalties. No doubt. After the first season, it's the spooky 50s sci-fi sound. Also, Roddenberry wrote lyrics for Star Trek TOS themes so he could split the royalties from the author of the instrumental tracks. Yeah, Gene Roddenberry was an awesome guy, but I think he was also a douchebag at some time.
Just to follow up, the gal that I was talking to, whose name is Carolina Eyck. I have no idea how to say her last name. Eyck. Carolina Eyck, and Carolina is spelled normally. So look up Carolina Eyck, and she's amazing. Like I have never really had an appreciation for the theremin until I saw somebody actually use it properly.
This is random. The things we recommend off this show.
Yeah, random theremin performer. Like what?
My favorite theremin performer is sorry that we went this.
You definitely need to find a way to spin this into a short of some kind.
The last time I tried to take a link off of one of my videos, off of one of the live streams and repost it, people got super mad at me.
But you gotta spin it. You gotta put like a funny comedic bed behind it and just say the late hours of the live stream, and the shit that we spiral into. My favorite theremin performer. Also,
by the way, I kind of wanted to bring this up. I am getting a guitar for doing mic stuff. I have on the end of my knuckle here. You can't really see it, but I actually have on this side. It's I think it's a spiral fracture. And I went to go look at Taylor 214 CE, which is about $1,600 US or Canadian dollars. And it looks like this is broken and I wasn't able to play a C chord. I was able to do a lot else. Like I could play, but the finger, when you're wrenching it down, it actually hurts when I do that. So I'm going to go for I didn't want to buy it in case it's arthritis. If it is arthritis, I'm not dropping $1,600 on a guitar that I'll never be able to play. And I'm going to be really pissed if I have arthritis in my finger. It's that bump on the side of the finger that makes me think it might be arthritis. So, but
any other, or is it just the one finger?
It's just this one knuckle right here. But the problem is I've jammed this many times where I've kind of hit it.
Yeah, hopefully it's like a hairline fracture or something.
I think it's that or a spiral fracture because my finger is also somewhat bent to one side. So the way my finger goes up, because I've played guitar for so long, the finger obviously has a bit of a bend to it by the nail.
It hurts when I touch.
It does. If I press it in just the right way, Bangs retracted a message.
I saw.
Yeah, Dark Corner Studios After Dark. I don't know if I want to do Dark Corner Studios After Dark, man. I'd get
extra Dark Corner Studios.
Yeah, extra Dark Corner Studios. Kombucha says, "No way, this is fun. This is why I like finding random live streams. I learned so much." Yeah, there gets to a point where you stop learning on this one, I think.
Johnny Regan. That's why I'm here, to find theremin performers.
Who doesn't want to?
Oh, man. No, you definitely have to make this into a bit now for a short. Theremin? You 100%. Oh, God. Yeah. I think of all the things we've talked about on these streams, that has to be the most random thing.
My father-in-law's theremin that he had that I got to play, I do actually have video of me playing it. But maybe I should do like a short of me getting electrocuted by it, because if you touched any of the leads, it gave you a hell of a zap.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So maybe I'll do that.
Just like licking a capacitor that plugged into a motherboard. You don't want to do that.
No, you really
putting your tongue on a 9-volt battery.
We used to do that to check the charge. That wasn't a good idea, I don't think.
As long as it's not a 24-volt battery, you're fine.
I'll quit it in Bart Simpson's voice. Yeah, pretty much. But I've been dealing with this for a couple months now, and it hasn't really been a problem because I haven't been using the guitar too much because it's a really buzzy guitar. It sounds nice, but it's buzzy as fuck because it's an old 70s model. So I'm going to go out and get the see if this is. I'm just going to tape my 2 fingers up if it is a break. So it'll heal up and I'll stop using it for stuff. And that's the problem. I've been re-injuring it because I open up cans with it and all that. So hopefully I would like to be able to start doing some guitar reviews. Not guitar reviews, but yeah.
I do. I recommend Taylor's always if you're a fan of the shimmery. If you're a fan of the meaty, Martin. Because the thing is, Taylor they don't make a ton of dreadnoughts. Taylor's favorite body style is Grand Auditorium.
Yep, and that's the one it was.
Which they sound great, but they're very sparkly. There's not a lot of lows.
But the thing is also I'm going to be teaching my daughter how to play with it, and the Grand Auditorium's a little bit smaller. So
and it's also easier to play.
Yeah, it is. So
I'm landslide.
Gonna probably pick that one up, and it's a gorgeous guitar. It's then eventually is gonna be the electric guitar. So
what? Taylor's look good? No, no way.
The Ho Ho Show says electrical tape works well. Oh, for taping up my fingers. Otherwise, I thought you were going weird. I did 9-volt. Attaboy. Yeah, we all did. We all tasted the 9-volt, didn't we?
Do you ever do that thing that I don't know if you did this when you were a kid, but if you ever got like filling in your mouth and you take like a piece of tinfoil and you put it and you bite down on it, and
I can feel that right now. God damn it!
I'm assuming you've done it.
Yeah.
So you know how weird it is. You know why that happens?
No.
It's because your mouth creates, so the metal used in your tooth and the metal in the foil are 2 different metals, and then your saliva acts as an electrolytic, or acts as an electrolyte. So there's a voltage that gets induced and goes into your nerve, which makes your nerve feel all weird. It's very small voltage, but it's enough to throw your brain off.
Your nerve feel all weird right there.
Your nerve feel all weirdy.
I felt that statement.
Yeah.
Ho Ho Show, haha, nice, yeah. I'm probably going to just go get some medical tape because what also happened this week was I'm going back to the gym, trying to get rid of the man boobs. But I was bench pressing, and I know how to work out. I used to be a big gym nut and all that. And I went to go bench press, and I only had like 120 pounds on, but my wrists started out bent up. And so as soon as I pushed, I felt it right through my wrist and in through my elbow. So I actually went to physio today to try to figure that out. And I'm in some stretching routines. And so, yeah, lots of fun stuff. It's hard to not be fat. That's what I'm learning from all this.
Well, especially in COVID, there's a lot of COVID meat going around. It's
so brutal.
I've certainly gained some weight, and I do not gain weight easily. I've always been blessed with a decently fast metabolism, but COVID, yeah.
I've always been on the bigger side, but I've always been the bigger side with muscle. Like I've always had the arms, I've always had the shoulders and the chest. The problem is the arms, shoulders, and chest are still there, but it's less muscle.
Yeah, you're what are they? What's the 3 body? They're mesomorph, ectomorph, and endomorph. You're an endomorph, probably.
What's the endomorph?
Endomorph is like Mike Tyson, like shorter, but like you can gain muscle really easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can bulk up pretty quick.
Yeah, see, I'm an ectomorph. I'm tall. I'm slender, man. I don't gain fat very easily, which is great, but I also don't gain muscle very easily, which is not so great.
Well, that's fine. As long as, I gain muscle easily, but the problem is your body replaces it with fat.
I mean, the good news is because I don't gain either very easily, I'm probably never going to have to get a kneecap replacement, so that's good.
Yeah, sounds good. Like I'm going to need a whole elbow replacement. Dylan is a xenomorph? Are you a xenomorph?
Xenomorph.
What'd you say mine was endomorph?
Endomorph. Yeah, there's endomorph. There's mesomorph is like the middle one, and then ectomorph is tall and kind of tall and slender.
That sounds sexy, eh? Endomorph.
Endomorph, yeah. Ectomorph is not. It's not like ectoplasm. Like that's what I think of ectomorph.
You ever had your endomorphed? No. Yeah. I'll try it out one day. All right. So it's been an hour and a half. I think we're going to have to call it at that. Thanks for everyone for joining. This is a weird one. We had concurrent viewers. We didn't have a lot, but we had a lot of interactions. So thank you everyone that joined in. Love you all. Hopefully you're all subscribed. Kombucha, feel free. Join the crowd. Come on, hit that subscribe button. We're here every Friday, hopefully. Oh, by the way,
talk about that.
before Dylan and I went off stream last week after the Saturday show, and we've decided what we're going to do is Friday nights we're going to keep it at 5. When it can't happen, it will happen later on in the evening. So we're going to, if it doesn't happen at 5, we'll hit it. We'll try to hit it later on in the evening, and there's going to be the odd week where we can't do a live stream. That's going to have to be the meet in the middle. Saturdays don't work well because a lot of people are out doing stuff, and I don't expect a lot of people to come out for a live show. So Friday nights,
even for me personally, Friday night's really the only day that I can carve out like a consistent sort of chunk of time.
And so like if we can't do it at 5 p.m. Eastern like we try to, we'll try to hit it a little bit later. There are going to be Fridays where Dylan's kind of tied up or I'm going to be tied up. Shit's going to happen. We won't have a live stream. That said, we're going to try to do this every Friday. And I appreciate everybody who comes around every week and hangs out because this is actually one of my favorite parts of Friday night. So
yeah, same here.
Bang says, remember, Austrian economics are reality based. I'm gonna go on we're
gonna have to do on a bender and just start looking up Austrian economics principles.
Yeah, and like lots of alcohol. It sounds like I don't think I've never looked into Austrian economics, but I think it involves beer.
I was a nerd and did look up economics years and years ago, and I do remember reading some of the what you're talking about, the invisible hand. But again, it's been so long, and I have not had to give a shit about economics really since then. So I've completely forgotten most of what I learned.
Johnny says thanks for the great content. Have a great weekend. You too, Johnny.
You too.
Cheers, guys, and we'll see you